Hey, welcome to Classic Performance, and we've got a special one for you today. This is a 1997 7.3 Powerstroke F-SuperDuty. First look, you might think it's an F350 with a bed on it, but it is not. This is a F-SuperDuty, which is also the 450-550 designation later on. But we're going to show you what makes an F-SuperDuty so special. So one of the very first things that you notice, it does say F-SuperDuty right here. It does not say 450, 550, 350. It is Super Duty. And of course, you know, those can be changed. But the main giveaway is you have 10 lug wheels. You count them right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 lug wheels. Your 350s would have had 8 lugs. So front and back, you've got 10 lug wheels. And interestingly enough, front disc brakes, of course, and on the back you got discs. We'll go underneath, take a look at those in just a minute. Also on the inside door tag of the F-SuperDuty, so the GVWR on this truck right here, and you can see it, it says 15,000 pounds, and it also says at the top, which you can see right here, incomplete vehicle. So these vehicles were all cab chassis trucks. If you see an F-SuperDuty that has a dually bed on the back of it, most likely that was added on later, and the frame was cut to fit that bed. And if you look underneath, you'll see a lot of fabrication, because these were cab chassis trucks made to have some type of a service bed on there. And if you're looking at this service bed right here and you kind of wonder, what was this truck originally? It had a big plate right here, and this was a ladder truck. I don't know why with a ladder truck it seems fairly light duty that you would need an F-SuperDuty, but that's just what it was. Upon quick inspection of this truck, and as you can see, it does sit kind of high, but the suspension underneath is a full width I-beam axle, not unlike what you would have on a big rig or an 18-wheeler. This is an I-beam axle. We'll take a look here from the front again. You can kind of see how high a SuperDuty sits. It sits much higher than its counterpart, the F350. Now, all of these came in two-wheel drive, and there were a couple of aftermarket companies that did convert them to four-wheel drive. Quigley did the 4x4 conversions, and this is not unusual. Quigley's still in business today doing conversions for vans, but it's very similar to what Napco did with General Motors and GMC back in the 50s, before General Motors started producing their own 4x4 components around 1960. This transmission is adaptable to put a transfer case on the back, and you change the front axle, and away you went. But these were all two-wheel drive trucks. Another thing you want to take a look at underneath here, these spring perches, and they are actually cast iron. These are cast. They're not stamped like they are in a lot of others, and they're riveted solidly to the frame. So another did giveaway here, and of course you can see that I-beam axle and the enormous sway bar that's under here. Another interesting thing too is the emergency brake is a drum brake right here. It's not on the back wheels on the discs, which we'll take a look at in a minute, but this is a drum brake on the tail shaft of the transmission. Now, as I understand it from these transmissions right here, and from this flange right here, you can bolt up a transfer case and then run your front drive shaft down to your 4x4 axle, which you would replace under here where that I-beam is. So these were converted to four-wheel drive, but they never came from the factory as a four-wheel drive factory supplied unit. Now this is a Dana 80 rear axle. I don't know the rear axle ratio right here, but like 5.3 to 1, I'm thinking what it is. Top speed on this vehicle is about 65 miles an hour, and of course you can see the calipers and the lines right there, and of course the enormous spring stack. And we'll look over here. Here is the caliper on the right hand side, and the springs right here. And these springs, these leafs, also have a helper leaf, which you can see up on the top up here. Now I did find this chart on the rear end, not a whole lot of rear information available, but it does look like this is probably the 4.63 to 1 ratio for the rear end, considering the weight of the rear and its capacity. If you have more information on this rear end and what it could be, let me know and what the options were. And it's not really easiest to see, but these do have a total of, it's an 8-leaf pack, and you got a spacer, and then you've got one overload kind of leaf on the top there. And this truck has 2 tanks. You've got a tank in the back here, and then up under the frame rail, up there on the left next to the drive shaft, you've got a second tank. So it does have 2 tanks, and it does have a selector up on the dash, which we'll show you when we get inside. And here's a better look at the spring pack and the overload spring from the other side. You can get kind of just a little bit better look at it. And this truck also has a rear sway bar. So here's the sway bar end link. It goes up over the rear end and comes down on the other side. So it does have a rear sway bar as well as the front. One of the most interesting things with the braking system, you can see you've got an arm right here, and this arm is connected to the rear end, and it's connected up here to the frame, and the brake lines go through it. So as you load the rear end and the bed comes down, it adjusts the brake bias, so you get more rear braking as you load the rear end, and then as the rear end is empty, it takes bias out of the back, puts it towards the front so the rears don't skid. So very unique and mechanically actuated and adjusted brake bias control hooked to the rear end based on the level of the vehicle and how much weight is on it. And we'll take a look at it from another angle here, but this is the arm that I showed you from the other side coming down, attaching to the rear end. So as the rear end goes up, it pushes this arm up, it changes the bias, everything comes down the lines here, goes to this T-block, and then goes to the left wheel and to the right wheel. So that's your brake bias adjustment based on leveling and load. So we'll take a look up under the hood here, and that's what everybody wants to see is the Navistar, International Navistar Powerstroke 7.3 liter diesel. And this one here is absolutely bone stock. They're usually, folks will modify these, change things. This is just as it came. The only thing missing is there's a plastic cover that's over here, but I have it off just so you can kind of see what's going on. This is the 7.3 turbo, and the last or latest iteration of it before they went to the 6.0 was the intercooled turbo. So from your air box right here, this is where the air goes in, comes across here, and here's your Garrett turbocharger. And that turbocharger, you can see there's the hot end. This is the cool end, so to speak. Exhaust gas turns this turbine, which compresses the intake air and sends it right down here into the engine. So this is the turbocharged 7.3, and like I said, the last iteration of this truck right here in the early 2000s did have an intercooled turbocharger system, so it would cool the intake compressed charged air, because when you compress air just like an air compressor, it gets hot and it makes a denser charge if you can cool it. So it cools it just like a radiator, and then it sends it into the intake cooler. So probably the greatest engine ever made in a Ford diesel truck is the 7.3. Arguably, the 6.0, the 6.7s were just very problematic, especially the 6.0s. And the reason they discontinued the 7.3 is because of government noise regulations. So this is kind of the last truck here before the EPA got involved and forced changes. So we'll go ahead and start it up for you. You can just hear how loud this truck is at idle. So I don't know how well you can hear me. I'll put my window up so you can hear me a little bit. This truck does have ice cold air. This XL trim basically comes with roll-up windows and not much more than air conditioning, a radio. Does have a full instrumentation, and a very stiff clutch. Every one of these has a stiff clutch. You're probably pushing 30 pounds on that clutch just to get it to go in. So first gear in this truck is a granny gear, And you just let it out, and this is at idle, and this is as fast as it go. I could probably get out and walk faster than the truck is moving right now in idle in first gear. Second gear. Very easy to shift, incredibly easy to shift actually. I mean, it shifts like a Toyota. So I just put it in first gear by habit. I usually try to start off in second gear. You really don't need it. It's a granny gear, but you know, we're kind of topped out at 9 miles an hour. Second gear. 15. Third gear is going to get you up to, I can push it about 30. Fourth gear, I'm at 2,000 RPM at 38 miles an hour. And then fifth gear right here. You got a little wind noise behind you. See if I can close that vent window there. We'll take a look at the dash here, and here's our fuel selector too, by the way. You just kind of see where we are RPM wise. So we'll start off in first in the granny gear. We just let our clutch out. You can see that tack doesn't change RPM. It just makes a little bit different sound. So there's 5 miles an hour at almost 2,000 RPM. Second gear, about 15 miles per hour. Third gear, we'll run it up to 2,500, and you're at 30. Down here in fourth. RPM, we're at 38. 2,500 RPM, we're at 45, and then I'll send her into overdrive. It's really just a fifth gear, not really an overdrive. And you can kind of see our RPMs here, 45 miles an hour, about 1,800. So, you know, not a bad rig to have on the road. Actually, I thought it would be, you know, something that's like a 60-mile-an-hour vehicle tops, but that's not the case. It really hums along. But we're running along at 45 miles an hour at about 2,000 RPM. Our red line on this vehicle is about 3,500. But, you know, surprisingly, it doesn't ride too bad considering there's no weight on it and how heavy the suspension is. So I'm pushing a little bit. It's very comfortable at 65 miles an hour. Turn at 2,500 RPM at 60. So I would say you could cruise this truck at 65, 70. Doesn't seem to be straining at all. Drives straight down the road too. Its happy spot seems to be about 60. Gonna whoa it down here a little bit. Downshifted the third. Long wheelbase of this truck takes a little bit to swing it around. start off in second gear. And you don't even have to give it any throttle. You just let the clutch out. You hear a little change of tone in the motor, but the tach never even really drops. Whether you're half throttle or all the way to the floor, it doesn't change the amount of acceleration. It's just steady pulls. So it's not a racehorse, but it does have great torque. And I'm not sure of the torque numbers. I'll put them down in the bottom of the screen. The horsepower and torque. I'm breaking like 275 horse, but around 500 foot-pounds of torque. So obviously the torque is what you want and why you have a diesel motor. These 7.3 liter motors, very capable even with this heavy truck, at the 15,000 pounds GVWR, they can still get 20 miles to the gallon. That about concludes our tour of the 1997 F-SuperDuty. Feel free to leave something in the comments if you have additional information or if I was mistaken on something. And if you like the content, give it a thumbs up. And we'd love to have you subscribe to Classic Performance. If you like content like this, let us know. We'll do more of it. We got a lot more vehicles to showcase and spotlight and walk arounds and drives with. So anyway, that's it for the 97 F-SuperDuty, the Classic Performance. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Happy trucking.